Graham, let's start with the experience here at spring training. Your first time in this major league clubhouse, a lot of big names inside this clubhouse. In an overall sense, what have the last few weeks been like?
I mean, it's been awesome. The older guys, a lot of our top guys here have just been nothing but great for us. You know, teaching us the way about how to go through things, teaching us the itty bitty pieces of the game. I've been learning a lot of new positions, so talking to some of the top guys we have, like Cronenworth, Machado over at first and third, learning the game there and how to go about my business there has been huge. It's been awesome.
And of course, you're not in here alone. You've got guys you've played with in the minor leagues, whether it be Merill or Marcy or Martorella. The list goes on. It seems like the young group of guys that played in the minor leagues together last year are really close. What's the relationship like with those guys?
Yeah, these are some of my best friends. I didn't start the year with them last year, but once I got to Fort Wayne and played with a lot of them, started playing with a lot of them, the relationship kept growing. They're great guys, hard workers, great baseball players as well. So it makes it a lot easier when you have a lot of your friends around you and working towards the same goal.
I know you mentioned Jake Cronenworth, Manny Machado. Have there been any conversations in particular with some of the more established veterans in here that have really stuck out so far?
Yeah, I wouldn't say any singular conversation is more important than the other because I think the stuff each day I've learned a lot of great things from these guys. They're some of the best baseball players in the world, and I think just getting the opportunity to learn from them and even I can bounce ideas off them, and that helps a lot. So.
Graham, let's talk a little bit about your time here at spring training so far. Obviously, the offensive numbers speak for themselves when you talk about what you did last season. But here in the Cactus League, you're playing first base, a place that, at least to my knowledge, you haven't played before, not in college, not in the Cape Cod Baseball League. Obviously, you do have a lot of experience in the infield, little bit of experience in the outfield. But let's talk about first base. What's it been like getting over there?
Yeah, anytime learning a new position, it's difficult at first. There's each position has its own way of going about things. To me, the way I wanted to treat first base was treat it like the opposite of third base. Obviously, that's not the whole picture, but I think that was a good starting point. Learning about angles, how to get around baseballs, how to maneuver footwork and everything. And I feel like as spring training has gone and I've gotten a lot more reps there, I get a lot more comfortable there. So I think going into this year, I don't know where I'll play or what positions I'll play, anything like that. But I think I'll be in a good spot to succeed there.
Now, as far as the outfield, it's no secret the Padres have some needs out there outfield-wise, really in a number of different ways. How comfortable are you in the outfield? I know you've played quite a bit of left so far in your minor league career.
Yeah, I feel same thing with first. I'm starting to get a lot more comfortable there. I haven't got as many game reps in the outfield this spring training, but I'm still getting my workout there. The staff has been great at getting positional needs each day, depending on what I need and where I'm playing that day. But I feel just as comfortable at third, outfield, first, second, wherever it might be. So I feel like I'm in a good spot everywhere.
Obviously, we can talk a lot about defense where you're playing, but hitting the baseball is a pretty important part of things as well. And like I said, your numbers at various levels last season were terrific. You were the minor league player of the year in the organization. When you look back on it now, what were some of the keys for you offensively last season in the minors?
Yeah, I felt like a big piece of why I was successful last year is because as the season went on, I felt like I kept getting better. That was just part of continuing to work on my swing, work on getting stronger, work on getting faster. I think once I made that this level switch from low A to high A, I really focused on elevating the ball and how I can really develop my power and get into that power that I do have. I got a few things to click working with some of our great staff that we have here, and I'm going to continue to build on that and hopefully to keep another successful season going. So
no matter where you start this season, I mean, if it's in the major leagues, if it's at AA, if it's at AAA, what was your personal goal offensively coming into this year, coming into spring training?
Yeah, coming into spring training, I really just wanted to, hit the ball hard. I want to hit the ball hard to all parts of the field. There were parts of last year where I would start to turn around balls and, get a little pull happy. And I think going into the spring training, I wanted to use my bat to ball skills and really be able to use the whole field. So I've been working towards that and working with the staff here, and I feel like I'm in a good spot to drive baseballs and do it gap to gap.
Graham, let's throw it back a little bit because your story is really interesting. Dennis Lynn wrote a great piece about you in The Athletic. I'm sure some people, you got some texts about it over the course of the last few days. It was a really good piece and really informative, and it talked about your time at Duke and your degree in economics. So let's start with just the academic part of things at Duke as you're playing. I mean, what's it like going to a place like Duke, playing baseball, and trying to balance all that?
Yeah, Duke's one of the top academic schools in the country. And to me, like coming out of high school, going to college, I wanted the best of both worlds, and I felt like Duke, had that. That out of all the offers I had, I felt like Duke was the best of academics and baseball. It's challenging. You gotta. It's like a second job. You got baseball. Like obviously, I'm really focused on baseball while I was at Duke, but also, I wanted to get good grades and I wanted to get that economics degree. So it was challenging, but like I wouldn't change it. I want to go back and change it. It was great.
I feel you. It was challenging for me. I was just doing broadcasting in college and to balance classes and trying to call games. The interesting thing that got noted in that article that quite honestly, before I read it, I didn't know was that when you joined Lake Elsinore in 2022, you actually ended up missing the postseason to go back to Duke and start classes because you really wanted to finish your degree. Take me inside kind of what the thought process was during that summer fall of 22 of going back to Duke and saying you were okay with not participating in the postseason and focusing on academics because clearly it was something that was really important to you.
Yeah, first of all, it was never like my intention to miss the playoffs. Once I got drafted, I had decided to enroll in classes that fall semester and graduate. That was my last classes I had to take to get my degree. So once I got to Lake Elsinore, and I was taking online classes at the time, trying to knock those out. And once we got to the playoffs, it got to the point where, I was told by Duke that I needed to be in person, and there was no other option. So it was pretty much either, lose the money that I had in school and that I already spent taking those classes, or continue the playoffs. And I felt horrible about it because it's a tough decision. Like my intentions were always to play baseball, and that's what I wanted to do, but. Sometimes you got to make hard decisions in life. So looking back on it, I'm happy that I'm done now. I graduated. I got my degree. They were still able to go win the championship, which it made me feel a little less bad about it. So that's great, and I'm super happy for them. But now that I'm done with school, like my full focus on baseball, and I'm excited for this next year.
Well, I certainly commend you for making what was, I'm sure, a really hard decision and process to leave the team and miss the playoffs. But obviously, school's important, always is. Yeah. And when you have the opportunity to get a degree from someplace like Duke, it really does mean a lot. Last question for you. I talked about the relationship between you, Merill, Marcy, some of the other young guys in here. Let's focus on Jackson Merrill a little bit because obviously there's been a lot of focus on him and what his opportunities may be this year. What stands out to you about Jackson? You've had the opportunity to play with him, to get to know him. Yeah. As a person, as a player, what have you noticed?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say the player stands for himself. I mean, he's one of the best players I've ever watched. He plays the game the right way. He plays it hard, and he works hard. I think what really stands out is him as a person. He's a leader. He's a great guy. He pushes himself in the weight room. He pushes the other people around him. And I think that's just as important as the play on the field. And I think that's what's going to make him a great player.
All right, very nice. I do want to ask you this as well. I noticed in one of those questions of the day, you said if you weren't playing baseball, it would be investment banker, New York City. Have you ever been to New York?
I have been to New York. Yeah. That was like my backup plan. If baseball didn't work out, it was always going to be investment banking. So. Yeah, that's why I chose that answer. But
I love it. Do you like New York City? Is that somewhere maybe one day you'd want to live? Maybe when baseball's over?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I never know. You never know. I love Georgia. Lived in Georgia my whole life. I love New York. I love lots of. I love San Diego too. Yeah. So yeah, a lot of great choices.
Yeah. Well, as somebody myself that grew up in New York and now I live in San Diego, they're very different, but both really, really nice. And hey, I hope after a long, successful baseball career, you get to go wherever you want. Graham, appreciate the time. This was great. Best of luck with everything here at spring training as the Cactus League games go along. And I'm sure I'll catch up with you later in spring and as 2024 rolls along.
Awesome. Thank you very much.